Jessica Stallings. I am a board-certified registered art therapist and a licensed professional counselor, as well as a certified autism specialist in the state of Kansas and a professor at Emporia State University. I have been an art therapist since 2005 when I graduated with my MS in art therapy. I wanted to be an art therapist from the time I turned 16 and more than 20 years ago. And I wanted to work with individuals on the autism spectrum from the time I was like 19, so almost 20 years ago at this point. And I've really been able to see a lot of benefit in that. I've been fortunate to be able to work in multiple settings with individuals on the spectrum and really see how much help that can provide and just how good a match art therapy is because of the sensory and visual elements of it. And so that's really led me to want to be able to expand the availability of services, to protect the public, to make sure that people are getting high quality services. And so that has led to me advocating for licensing, advocating for art therapy in multiple settings, just really trying to spread the good word.
Doing art allows me to communicate something that I can't with words. So instead of telling you about something that's kind of vague, if I try to explain it, I can just either draw it or build it, and it paints a clear picture for somebody. Back when I was in 6th grade, we were doing some educational stuff about Rome. So I had a project where I had to explain what the Senate was. So I built it with Legos. So here we got the Emperor, the Senate, and the, the tribunal over here. And everybody seemed to like that.
Art therapy is an integrative mental health and human services profession that enriches the lives of individuals, families, and communities through active art making, creative process, applied psychological theory, and human experience within a psychotherapeutic relationship. Art therapy, facilitated by a professional art therapist, effectively supports personal and relational treatment goals as well as community concerns. Art therapy is used to improve cognitive and sensory motor functions, foster self-esteem and self-awareness, cultivate emotional resilience, promote insight, enhance social skills, reduce and resolve conflicts and distress, and advance societal and ecological change. An art therapist goes into a school setting or a private practice with a child on the autism spectrum or with any other diagnosis with a very specific training in psychological constructs as well as the use of art media in working with individuals. So we understand the psychological properties and the creative potential of art materials, and we also understand thoroughly the diagnosis, and we know how to put those together to meet the needs of the individual.
Can you open all? How did you know? Can you open all the ones that
Jack has issues with self-regulation. It's very hard for him to be in control of his emotions when he's angry, when he's upset. Even when he's really excited about something, sometimes he doesn't express that in the best possible way. We've noticed since he started therapy services that meltdowns don't typically last as long as they could have, because a lot of the work that he does in therapy is to help him regulate and help him to gain better control of himself. Definitely, I think that his ability to relate with kids his age is directly related to his art therapy services that he's received. Not only does he get the one-on-one, there's also been times that you've invited him to participate in group classes with other kids his age, which gives him good practice in talking with other kids. He's always related a little bit better with adults, I think, because of just how he is and the way he thinks about things and presents himself. But he, especially in the last 2 years, has really developed like a little core group of friends at school, which has been really great. You just worry about, is he going to have friends when he's older? Is he going to be able to do this when he's older? And I think that he's got a better chance of that just because he's in therapy now.
What I find most effective in working with these individuals is allowing them to kind of lead where the session goes. So in other therapies for autism, it's very top-down, where the therapist is really directing everything that happens. But with art therapy, they can kind of lead it the direction they need it to go. For instance, there's a young boy that I worked with who came in one day really upset. He was upset because he was supposed to make cookies at his grandma's before he came to see me. And they ran out of time and they didn't get to. And he really, really wanted to make cookies, and he was so distracted by this that he really couldn't focus on anything else. If I were doing really strict behavioral therapy, I basically would have had to redirect him into the kind of behavior that I wanted him to be doing. But because of the way art therapy is formatted, we were able to go into my office and get some clay and make our own cookies, granted not edible. And he was able to process through those feelings of anger and frustration through doing that, and to calm down by the time the session was over.
You know, the traditional forms of treatment, such as talk therapy or occupational therapy, you know, those things are really rooted in, you know, the client already having an understanding of themselves, which a lot of the time our clients with autism don't have. So the art therapy, I think it really gets to that core. You know, it gets to the root of expression without having to have any prior knowledge or any prior experience.
Quite recently I went through a pretty bad depression, and I used that art therapy to basically show people how I felt. I made a painting. It's not very, I don't think it's very good looking back at it, but I think it tells very much how I felt. It was just a big black void, and there was a door open and somebody with a flashlight looking into it, and the flashlight's lighting up a little kid that's in the fetal position. And at the time I didn't really know what that was. I just felt like drawing it, but I guess it was, I learned to see it as me trying to save myself from myself.
I'm a semi-retired pharmacist, also have served in the Kansas legislature, served for 7 terms, 14 years, and concluded my legislative career in 2016. And at the moment I'm doing some consulting on healthcare policy and hanging out.
So Don Hill is the perfect person to approach. He has a background in health. He's a pharmacist, and is the only person, or was at the time, who had a healthcare background, so could understand the constructs that we were advocating for in terms of psychological need. He also was served on the Health and Human Services Commission. He had a wonderful reputation for working across the aisle with both Republicans and Democrats, and so he was just the perfect person to approach to advocate for this license.
You know, with the training that art therapists have had, it makes it really, really important to know which materials to use, because you can trigger your client, you can re-traumatize your client, you can put them in unsafe situations.
So right now, art therapy is not a licensable field in most states. And the objectives really relating to licensure are primarily about protecting the public. So individuals right now in Kansas can say they're an art therapist with absolutely no training. But art therapy is a master's level field, and it takes a lot of preparation and practice. So one thing that having more widely available licensure would do would be to protect clients from somebody who might do harm unintentionally.
One of the things that licensure can do in each state is to help clarify that art therapy is a profession and not a modality. So art therapists are skilled and trained in both art and therapy. We understand psychological constructs as well as the application of media within a therapeutic relationship.
Well, ultimately, the recognition licensure provides, and the opportunity for therapists to be practicing at the peak of what their training is expands the benefit to the public. It's just better access to better health care, and that's the long and short of it.
The American Art Therapy Association has recognized that this has to be a priority, licensure in states across the nation, to protect the public, to make sure that folks have access to art therapy. On the public page of the American Art Therapy Association website, folks can access this map, which identifies the states who have currently passed standalone licensure for art therapists, and those are the kind of olive green color, and also states where art therapy is licensed under a professional license, so that graduates of a 60 credit hour art therapy program generally are eligible under a related license like counseling. The purple indicates states which recognize art therapists for hiring and/or title protection. And then the blue states, and there's 17 of them there, are actively pursuing art therapy licensure. They're in varying degrees. Some are being read, some are in committees, being debated, but all of those states in blue are currently working on licensure.
It'll get a little messy, and that's okay. We'll clean it up.
Unfortunately, our needs for mental health services are not becoming less, they're becoming more. And any modality, any treatment method, any resource that can be brought to bear that's proven and successful should be able to be used to the fullest extent. And I don't think it's good public policy to not have laws and regulations that allow for that full utilization.
We've reached out to families of folks who receive art therapy services in Kansas and asked them to contact their legislators. Let them know how instrumental art therapy has been in impacting quality of lives for themselves or for a family member. And when they reach out to legislators, it helps us to share the message that by licensing art therapists, by having more qualified, credentialed art therapists available, we can provide better access to better care.